Yay, it's another assembly tutorial for my Feffy's Cottage kits, and this is my brilliant built-in. This is the prototype for the baking cupboard for the McKinley dollhouse kit, although it will work with any house that has 8.5-inch ceilings. It is made to go with the stove unit. As you can see here, there will also be a sink unit. We will have a freestanding one and one for the bay window in the McKinley. So now I'm going to move on to actually building it and showing you how to do that. And as you can see, I'm pretty clumsy when it comes to gluing, but it doesn't matter. This is the prototype. It's going to be fast and quick and sloppy because I am modifying it as I go. So I am just putting it together for fit, and I am not sanding any of the soot off of the edges, so everything's going to get dusted with ash. But here I am adding part A and B together, and this one is the spice cabinet side, the spice drawers, and you want to make sure that those lines are aligned with one another. Lines are aligned. It's been a long day. I've been designing and I have 2 assembly videos to make, plus I have to write instructions. I'll be doing the Portland Miniature Show in this coming October, so if you want to come and grab one of these kits there, I will have them there. I will have a few of these built-ins available along with some hardwood furniture and some other little sundries and fun stuff. So come and see me in October. If you want to know the dates and all that stuff, just Google Portland Miniature Show and you will find the site right at the top of the Google list. So I have balanced that on there, and now I'm going to add the other B to the other end of this cabinet. Now, you can always, oh no, I guess you can't, not with this one, never mind. You could build it in the other direction so that the rounded shelves would be on the other side, but it's a little more complicated than doing it with the stove unit and switching the orientation on there. But there is an option too if you don't like your little rounded shelves, which is the open corner there on the left. Oh no, on the right. The other right. I'm sorry. I've always been really bad about my right and left. I mean, I used to compete with dressage riding horses, and I used to always have trouble remembering which was left and which was right when I was doing competitions. And I actually screwed up a couple of competitions, actually going in the wrong direction. So yeah, I don't know why. I heard that there are people who just have this mental block when it comes to right and left. So I have to think about it. I'm like, which hand do I write with? And then I'm 53 and I still do that. But as you can see, I'm having a little trouble balancing this on here. You can probably use something to affix it. I'm coming up with some kind of tool to help people who are making the kits to hold their shelves up so they can dry. But yeah, should I speed this part up? I don't know. There is a little bit of a bend in the ply. I think it's from the heat of the laser. So you got to kind of keep track of that. Sometimes a little bit of masking tape would hold it in place and keep the bend from gluing itself into your unit. So here I am adding the base of the countertop. This is part D. I don't remember what part C. Oh yes, I do remember what part C is. But yes, so this will help make sure that this is where it ought to be. I try to be pretty precise on the measurements on this. And as I'm doing this, I will find my flaws and mistakes and I will correct them as I go along. So I do end up recutting things along the way and making sure that they fit well. Some things I'm not going to recut, like the little drawer fronts for the spices were a little wide. And so I just left them wide for the display unit because this is what's going to be sitting on top of all of the boxes of the kits. So now I'm going to add the 15 little cubbies for the 15 little spice drawers. And this kit will come with hardware for those things. So I will provide those with, every drawer will have a little knob. But I remember the first time I did this little spice cabinet, I did more like a 4x4 grid instead of a big tall cabinet like this. But I put individual little labels on them, and it looked so cute. Now this cabinet will also work for an apothecary, because you have all these little individual drawers, a printing shop if you're really going to be that creative and do a room box or something like that. But this little cabinet would work wonderfully for a shop as well. And you can leave off the two cabinet doors, the leaded glass doors, that are going to show up later, if you want to just have open shelving for your store shop wares. So here you go. And you want to glue these in first before you put the other thing in, just because it helps keep them straight. And I put guidelines on all of these so to make sure that you are doing it where it ought to be. Now if you see there is a gap underneath this very first drawer box, and that is because I am going to slide the countertop material, the air quote soapstone, underneath that. So you got to make sure that that gap is left intact. Otherwise you'll have to cut the soapstone to go around it. And those are all the little shelves, and I'm going to just speed this little part up because I think it might be tedious watching me fill this in as slowly as I'm doing it. I will say that I would rate this kit as from a 1 to 5 easiness or difficulty level. I'd say this would probably be a 4 to a 5. It is definitely an involved kit. It's got a lot of pieces. I think the McKinley stair kit is easier than this one, just because here I am trying to balance all of these different little shelves. I recommend that you get a quick set glue. I know that there is a Japanese brand, I can't remember what it is, that you can get, and it has a really sweet little tiny little miniature tip applicator, and it sets super quick. Super glue would also work, but I don't know about how long that would last. But either way, yeah, I recommend a quick set glue. Otherwise, you're going to knock things over, and I do it multiple times. You'll see me do it here. I will put one in and then accidentally knock the other one, but they are all going in one after the other. And it's just easier to install them this way with one side still open. So there you go. Whoops. Moving on. So now we're going to turn it over, and I'm going to glue the ends of every one of these little drawer boxes. And we're going to install part C. But first, if you notice, I put a spacer under there to make sure that that gap for the countertop is still intact. And now we're going to install the main shelves. Now there are 4 shelves, but the 4th one doesn't have a guide mark because its location might be a little bit different based on the installation of your cabinets. If you put your shelves in with a little bit of variation in the distance between each one, so I just wanted to leave that open. So there you go. That goes the second shelf. And thirdly, bada bing, bada boom. Okay. So those are the 3 main shelves. Now we're going to work on the lower cabinet unit. Now this is the drawer box top, and you want to install that flush with the bottom of the drawer openings. And this is a little spacer that's going to go underneath the counter and kind of provide support. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's all going to be hidden inside the cabinet. And also I'm just mucking it up because that's what I do. It doesn't matter, it's hidden. Yeah, the interior of things are forgiving, aren't they? Now this little tiny piece here, I'm slowing this down so you can see it, is a spacer that will provide support, kind of like the back foot of the cabinet, just so that it has something to rest on inside, so nobody will see it. It doesn't have to be flush with the edge or anything perfect, because it's going to be hidden underneath the cabinet. So that's going to go on the bottom the floor of the lower cabinets. And I'm going to use my quilting clamps to hold them in place. Somebody on TikTok told me to use those. And yeah, to this day, I'm still grateful to her. She just kind of came in on a live and stayed for 2 seconds and said, you know, you should use quilting clamps if you don't have regular clamps. And I said, oh my God, I just bought some. And so I used them. And then she said, I gotta go. And she took off. But yeah, so quilting clamps for the win. Holding that in place at a 90-degree angle. And there you go. That's the little foot for your cabinet. So now you can stand that up. I'm letting it dry. Now this is the divider between the two base cabinets. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's all going to be hidden inside. But if you're meticulous, you can make it perfect. I don't care. So, yeah, I'm going to glue that in. I probably will speed up some of this because it's pretty tedious. So, let's glue that in. I'm trying not to put you all to sleep with the tedium. So I'm going to glue this on, and I might speed this up just a bit. And off we go at high speed. All right, imperfectly installed, but installed nonetheless. So more of those quilting clamps. So these two pieces are filler. I could have cut this little separator between the drawers and the cabinets in 1/8 inch ply, but I just didn't want to do that for one piece out of the whole kit. So I just made these little pieces that are filler, and you want to just install them underneath the drawer base there to make the area inside 1/8 inch instead of 1/16. And that is so that the cabinet assembly will fit properly. So you just glue it on, make a little glue sandwich. Now if you notice, I have notes all over these pieces. Your pieces will be either marked or they will be separated into little baggies with their corresponding bag number, and that will be referred to in the instructions. Everything will be organized and you will not be confused. At least I hope not. And there'll be instructions, and there will be an inventory list of everything that is in that box to make sure you don't have anything missing. But if there is anything missing, you just have to message me and I will send it to you. So it's not a big deal. These are the little pin hinge cabinet doors. That is the socket right there, and it needs a little reinforcement, I think. I think they can't be harmed by just a little drop of maybe some super glue on there just to solidify it. It's plywood. It's generally strong, but it's so fine that I worry that they might break or crack. So yeah, if you can just soak a little super glue on each side of those things and let them dry before you install them, they'll be stronger. And that goes for the pin hinge too. They're tiny and they could be a little bit delicate. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world if they break. You can kind of drill a little hole where they used to be and put in a pin, and then get some wire snips and cut the pin to it at about 1/16 of an inch. And that would work too. But as long as you give a little prep time, use a little super glue on there to kind of stiffen the wood some more, then it should be fine. Now I am letting this go at regular speed so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So all the doors are installed on the bottom piece, and now I'm going to add the top piece. Now my laser is not super precise, so sometimes there's a little variation. That's why I left a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to the installation. So once those pieces are, there you go. So now you have those pieces are installed. You have pretty much a working little cabinet assembly. Now you want to install these so that the the doors are all, the pin hinges are almost flush with the front of the cabinet, and you want to make sure that when you install them that they are parallel to each other. If you have a little one pushed in too far or one moved over, they will be crooked, and you'll be able to see it because the doors have a little bit of a gap, and you would see if they were a little crooked. So yeah, I tested it, and it is time to apply your glue. It can be a little fiddly. You can be handling it, it might fall apart, but since you have 8 hands, you shouldn't have a problem with it. Octo hand. All right, so you're going to slide that in there. Come on, there you go. And there you go. So you're going to turn this over and use your quilting clamps to hold everything in place. And you want to adjust to make sure that your pin hinges are flush with the front of the cabinet. It's kind of hard to tell. So there's a little bit of a protrusion, like half of the little socket will be sticking out, but once you paint or stain, it's just going to look like almost like decoration or something. It's not going to be. So here I am adjusting the depth. It takes a little bit of fussing and fidgeting, but you get it. You'll get it. There. So you've got a 1/4 inch thickness there with everything in place. So a nice and sturdy cabinet. And the doors work fine. See, I've got something still moving, and I'm still adjusting, and you'll have to do the same thing. Once it's in place, you clamp it again, the 50th time, and there you go. And once again, all those little holes will have corresponding hardware. So you'll actually see a preview of it in a little bit. So now we're going to do the small bay. Just testing it, testing the fit. And the most useful thing a miniaturist can have, a glue bottle. Now I'm not going heavy with the glue. This is again just a prototype and a display unit, so I'm not worried about it being too lasting. I can always just cut another one. Here I am making sure that they are parallel on the top and bottom, that the lines are straight, and that the hinges are not protruding too far from the front of the cabinet. And there you go. And once more, a little more adjustment. Perfect. And clamp. Looks like it's a little crooked. I'll have to make an adjustment here. There you go. And the doors open and they close. Yay! It's the little things. It's the little things. So that is your lower cabinet assembly. So there you go. Let that dry, of course. Not like me, I don't let things dry and then they fall apart while I'm assembling them. So that's what happens when you're impatient. I think we've looked at this long enough. What do you think? Oh wait, I gotta open the door again and close the door again and close that door again. There you go. I think you might have seen it enough times by now. Oh, I'm gonna have to adjust. All right, time for the whole kit and caboodle to go in. So the first thing you're gonna do is bring on the glue. I'd use a lot more than that, but again, look at this intricate, perfect job I'm doing. And you want to make sure that you get that thin little piece up at the top and make sure that it is firmly pressed up against the bottom of the countertop base. I don't know why I'm staring at it this long. And maybe I zoned out. And in it goes. Like a glove. I love to see these things come together. And there you go, that's the base is installed. And look, guess what? Cabinets open. Oh no, they don't open because there's no knobs. Let's use this pin. Check it out. Not like you haven't seen the cabinet open 1,000 times already, but you know, just in case. Just in case you didn't see that. Oh, look, this one opens too. Check it out. Okay, there you go. Not so bad. Watching the cabinet doors is exhausting. Okay, what's the next step? I don't know, I'm too busy staring at the cabinet doors. All right, let's move on to the next thing because I'm just crazy. Okay, so now we're going to install the fourth shelf. And we're going to place it with glue in there, but we're going to leave it wet so that we can adjust it as needed with our upper cabinet doors. So I'm putting it in place, but it's not permanent. And I'm going to use the edge of these doors as a guide. And I got to make sure that there's 1/8 of an inch open in the hinge area so that the assembly pieces will slide in. And if you notice, there's a little knob on that piece right there. It's a little metal knob. This one's flower shaped. I think I'm getting daisy ones for the kits that I'm making for the Portland Miniature Show. So it's kind of a gamble what you get, but you all get hardware. You will absolutely get hardware. And there will be tiny knobs for the spice cabinets. You will need some tweezers and a magnifying glass to install them all. So as you can see, I'm using these cabinet doors as a guide to making sure I'm setting the fourth shelf in the right place. Now you are more than welcome to redistribute your shelves any way you want to, as long as the top and bottom are in the right place to hold the cabinet assemblies. Now there are no separators to separate these cabinets. There's just doors. And also, when I do this installation, I didn't put I didn't put them close enough together, so there's a really big gap between the right set of doors and the left set of doors. But you can adjust that to make sure that they have a consistent gap between each of the doors. each of the sets of doors. Excuse me. And this is me just meticulously adjusting things. There you go. I should just speed this up. It's extremely boring. Oh, and I just knocked it out of place. Speed it up. There you go. So it's taking a lot of adjustments. And here is the first door assembly, and it fits okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and glue this shelf in place, and then also glue this assembly in, and they will help the other out. So this could have stood to be like maybe a millimeter or two towards the inside further, and not so close to the edge of the cabinet. But I just glued it in without thinking about it. So, and here is the second drawer, a door assembly. There you go. And that should have been a millimeter to the left, and that big gap in the middle wouldn't be there. But by the time I really paid attention to it, it was already dry. So suck it up, Buttercup. Okay. And I'm gluing it that way. So there you go. Now it's time to assemble all the millions and zillions of little drawers. I call this part Drawer Palooza. And you can see I was struggling a little bit with these tiny little pieces. But we have the backs, and there you go. So I'm doing all the drawer boxes first. And then I will add the drawer fronts when they are at least partially dry. A couple of them weren't, and they fell apart when I was hurrying them through. I was putting them in the cabinet when they weren't even dry yet. And so they protested and decided to just dismantle themselves. So I ungo the sides, and there are 15 of these little buggers. So put on a podcast. That's what I was doing. And just zone out. This really is the perfect activity for just, check your brain in at the door. And, or focus it on something else and just let your hands do the work. Miniatures are therapy for me. They used to be like a life-saving thing, kind of escapism, but from life-saving it turned into therapy. Yeah, this is my desk plotter, and I insist on working on my desk when I have a beautiful work table that's covered in crap right now. So I'm destroying my desk plotter with laser soot. I need to get a new one. It's already been ruined. Now the little drawer fronts are going on. They will be smaller, and they won't interfere with the cabinet door like they do now. But that's also because I installed the cabinet door too close to the drawers. It's my fault, but I'm not changing it. So, and these are the big drawers. I don't think this cabinet is lacking in drawers. That is for sure. Oops, wrong piece. There you go. And again, I will have all the pieces identified either in a bag or with actual letters on them. There you go. So, let's check this out. We're going to see some more doors opening and closing. Isn't that exciting? So I'm taking off the quilting clamps, and look at that. So cute. There will be, and I'm air quoting, glass for these windows. So I'll have some acrylic in there for, glass purposes. And now, even though they're not dry, I'm going to start installing them. As you can see, they're too wide. I moved them around so that they could fit properly, but I did adjust the size already in the kit. They will not be too wide in the kit. I just really didn't want to cut them again or install them again. I don't want to make 15 more tiny drawers. I'm lazy. That one didn't fit right, so I'll just throw this one in. There you go. Now there's going to need to be some adjustment, as you can see. I'm like trying to push that out of the way. But, you know, you might... Yeah, what I did was I think I aligned the box flush with the front. It's at the bottom of the front. So all of them should be pretty even. The drawer boxes, though, might not be perfect either. So it might add some variation. Whoops. That's what happens when you're impatient. Let them dry. And I'm busy adjusting everything and moving them around so that they'll fit properly. Yes, this is fascinating footage. So compelling. You just can't tear your eyes away from it. Okay, that one's the one that fell apart, so we'll just take... What's this one? Okay, this one here. So these ones fit, but they would fit better if that set of doors was 1 millimeter further to the left. And that goes for the doors on the right as well. They could be 1 millimeter away from the left side of the cabinet so that the center gap wouldn't be so big. And there would be more room for the hinges to turn and for the drawers. But I am going to mitigate that by providing slightly smaller drawer fronts for the kit. Now, I'm going to install the skirting. Now, the skirting on this one is a little wide. You can cut that down if you need to, depending on how high your cabinets end up. So these are the rounded shelves, and you want to put one at the end here and one exactly where the skirting begins. So right there, sort of continuing the line of the skirting. And then you can install these any way you like. I was putting them in every 3 drawers. So I put them in between every 3 drawers. These are great little display cabinets. Great for wine bottles, mixing bowls, all sorts of things. As you can see, I used a little, what are those called? It's a pin, it's a jewelry finding for the knob. A ball pin, something or other. So yeah, you can use those as well if you don't like the hardware that comes with it. And I'm aligning that last one with the bottom of the drawer, the shelf there, because the countertop will be in place there. So I used about 2 of them, and I used one as a spacer so that the last shelf would be just slightly off the floor. Whoops, I knocked it with my finger there. Let me fix it. Voila. So I tried to open that one, but it didn't open because of the doors on the spice cabinets. So now we're going to install the rounded corner of the skirting. So you want to be pretty liberal with the glue here. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut that skirting down a little bit. Okay, so you want to I hate the word moist. You want to dampen this piece of wood. It's basswood. It's straight basswood, and it's cut across the grain so that it is bendable. So, but you do it, it's safer to do it when it's dampened. So I'm going to use this piece of wood to hold it in place. And then I had started with tape, but since the wood is dampened, it wouldn't stick to it. So I decided I'm going to use a rubber band. And that will hold it in place until both the wood and the glue dries. The skirting will be a proper fit, I promise. These are all things that are going to be adjusted. I'm just going to leave it that way because this is a prototype and I don't care. So, there you go. You can take that out now and let that dry. You should let this dry between every stage of this, every step. Let it dry thoroughly before you do stuff. And as you can see, there's like fingerprints and smudges, and that's all from the soot that is on the edges of all these cut pieces. I will provide a little emery board. You can use that to scrape away most of it. And, scraping it away is better anyway because there's an extra shelf there. The glue just gets absorbed by the soot and it doesn't glue as well. So it is really important that you sand the edges, especially where there's glue area. So here you can see I'm kind of hating myself for that gap in the middle. I should have spaced it better, but still pretty cute. Lots of space to display your kitchenwares. Now here is the drawer. You want to install the drawer front on the big drawers with the bottom hanging low so the drawer doesn't fall into the cabinet. So it kind of acts like a stop. Now this is your air quote soapstone. It's actually acrylic. And I'm going to peel a little bit off every piece before I put it in the kit. And all you have to do is peel the rest off. Protective film. And look at this. It just slides right into place. So that's it. That's the kitchen cabinet.